Should you freeze your credit? I mean, odds are you've gotten a letter recently that said your data has been compromised. I think it was summer of 2024 that there was a breach of about, I think they said 1.8 billion people. So odds are your data's out there somewhere. And the question I get a lot from my clients and friends is, should I be freezing my credit? Let's talk about that today. Welcome, Tony Shore, to the show. Tony, is your credit frozen? Do you know?
It isn't, but it probably should be. I mean, why wouldn't you want to freeze your credit, right? I mean, there's a lot of advantages to that. That way nobody can take advantage of you, right?
Well, so let's talk about that. So yes, the question is why not? But freezing your credit, it just makes it more difficult for someone to open up an account in your name, which is going to be
Right.
fraud. But what's fundamentally happening is, let's say you're going to get a loan. They're going to do a credit check, right? You've heard this. You get a new car, right? And then you're going to borrow. They're like, we got to check your credit. And then you're like, well, I don't want you to check my credit because my credit score is going to go down. Well, that credit check process, it can be frozen, meaning you can stop anyone from doing that. You would fundamentally be stopping anyone from hitting your credit, trying to check you out, right? And by doing that, they wouldn't be able to then open up an account because the bank or the car dealer would be like, I can't even access your credit, so I can't open this credit card for you, or I can't give you this loan. So by freezing the credit, you prevent another person pretending they're you doing that. Right? All three companies, and with the TransUnion, Experian, and I forget the other one. They all allow
Is it
you
Transamerica?
TransUnion.
TransUnion.
All right. They are required by law, federal law, that they must allow you to do this. And it used to be, say 10 years ago, that you have to put in writing. Mm-hmm. Now they all have an online system where you can go online and freeze your credit. And it's free. That's the big side. That's the big one. It doesn't cost you to do this. So the question is, why not? Particularly for seniors and retirees. Why not? Now, here's the downside. If you freeze it and you want to get some sort of credit check, whether you are going to rent a new apartment and they need to check your credit, whether you're going to buy a new car and you need a loan, some insurance carriers will check your credit to give you a better rate. Or if you're just starting a new credit card, you want to get a new, frequent flyer miles card or something, they won't allow you to open it because your credit is frozen. So there'll be that moment of, oh my gosh, why can't you give me credit? It's because it's frozen. So then you have to go and unfreeze it. That's the downside. You have to unfreeze it, but it's simple to unfreeze.
So then why wouldn't you want to just keep it frozen? Is my question to you.
There isn't a reason to not unfreeze it. Okay. And I think that's why it's particularly, I mean, there isn't a reason to not do this, particularly for retirees, because for most of my clients, they're not buying a new house or needing a new loan.
I should do that for my dad. That would keep him from, who's having cognitive issues, and I have financial power of attorney, and I'm like, he should not go out and get another loan for a vehicle that he can't drive because he has no license, but he does these things.
Perfect example, Tony.
That might be a great solution. By the way, just an FYI, the one you can think of as Equifax.
Equifax, yes.
Yeah, and they had some trouble a number of years ago, and that's when this topic, that's probably the last time I remember talking about this with you, is when there was a big controversy. Equifax got the data breached or something, but it's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion are the three credit reporting agencies that are authorized.
Right.
Yeah.
And they all have to allow you to freeze your credit.
Yeah.
And it's simple. You go online to each website and you fill it out. I mean, you have to give your information, so you get scared about, make sure you're not going to.
But these sites don't charge you money. Yeah. These sites don't charge you money to go in and freeze your credit, is what you're saying.
Well, they do. So There's a
Okay.
difference between the credit freeze and the credit lock.
Oh, okay.
So when you go there and you go to freeze credit, they might say, oh yeah, sure, here, fill out this form, but don't you want credit monitoring service? Or let's lock your credit so that no one can access any of your data for a fee of $30 a month or whatever it is, $29.99 or what.
Sure.
So I'm not talking about doing that. And I'm not recommending people do that. I'm recommending people just do the free freeze, which
But what I'm saying is, so you're saying you can go to those three sites and freeze your credit for
yes,
free,
yes,
but they're going to try to sign you up for a monthly
yes,
paid, some type of paid
of course.
lock system. And on conservative, especially conservative, but also, CNN, any political talk radio shows, I always hear these ads for LifeLock,
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly it.
Or late at night on CNN or Fox News, you LifeLock. You need LifeLock, and they're really hitting, of course, seniors hard that watch the news channels and that listen to conservative talk radio or talk radio in general. So why wouldn't I just LifeLock would take care of that, right?
Theoretically, but then you're paying for it. And what are you doing there? You're just paying for a service that you can do for free. Now, there might be some other additional benefits that I'm not familiar with enough to say don't do it, but I don't see a need for it. I just see a need for people to freeze their credit and for free. A lot of people just don't do it because they don't, when they do it, Tony, it's just like long-term care insurance or life insurance or some other thing that people think they need, but they don't bother with until their parent needs it. And then like, oh, I'm going to
Sure.
get it for myself. When there's a letter in the mail that comes and says your data has been compromised, that's when they say, oh man, I should buy LifeLock.
That's the wake up call.
Right.
And
So
then they get that letter, and then that day they hear the ad on the radio or the TV news talk, and then they think, "Oh, that's exactly what I need."
I think I have 30 years worth of free credit monitoring because my data has been hacked so many times because of all the companies I work with. But I'm sure people listening have gotten that letter saying, hey, your data has been hacked, or it may have been a breach, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, advance of that, just freeze your credit.
Yeah.
And then, all right, downside, Dan, now I want to go get a car loan. So when you're talking to the car dealer or the bank, you say, hey, bank, what credit company are you going to do a credit check on? Because you have to sign off allowing them to do the credit check. And you just say, which one are you going to use? Oh, I'm using Experian. Okay. Go on Experian, unfreeze, and then boom. Then you say, okay, now you're good to go. And then they do it. You get the loan, freeze again. It's a little bit of a pain, but why not? It's just another thing to help the drama. Because Tony, we did a show, the 3 punches, the 3 risks of retirement.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of them? Or did you get hit in the head too many times?
The 3 risks of retirement.
Mike Tyson, how many times have we done that show? I'll put it
Yeah,
up here
yeah.
for those
We've done it. We've done it many, many times.
Do you remember any of the big risks
Well,
to retirement?
sure. The main risk of retirement is pizza buffets closed on the day you chose to go there.
You tried to get that in the top 3, but it didn't work.
That's the first. Pizza buffet is closed.
No,
What are the 3?
Stock market correction
Yep.
or any correction of the market. So losing money in the market.
Yeah. Inflation,
health insurance, negative health event like long-term care need that drops people's retirement big time, or a needy family member, right? Those,
inflation should be in there now.
No, I don't.
No?
I'm not putting it as a top 3 risk because these are are risks that'll wipe you out. Inflation slowly eats
that's
you
true.
alive, right?
That's true.
But I added the 4th, and that was fraud. And we did a show on all the schemes and fraud. There's not a prince from Nigeria that's going to give you money.
It is true, though. People have been wiped. Their retirements have been wiped out by fraud.
Wiped out by
250,000 gone. It can happen.
It happens a lot more than you think. And what I'm saying is this is a one extra step to prevent it. Do it for yourself. Freeze your credit. You can always unfreeze it. It's not complicated. Maybe it takes you an hour of your day to go to the 3 and fill out a form to freeze your credit. Big deal. Because think of the countless hours you'll have to work at getting someone that opened a mortgage in your name without you knowing, and then fixing it, right? So, or in your case, Tony, you made a great example. Help your elderly parent by freezing their credit, so that this way they can't go and or
Because
get a
my mom
phone
and dad
call.
have been so susceptible lately to
Right.
scams and people trying to take advantage of them and loans and things
Yeah.
that we've had to chase down. So, yeah, I think it's really important, which kind of was leading me. I wanted to argue, well, why not just bite the bullet and pay for LifeLock? Well, I kind of answered my own question, and you told me, well, that costs money, and when you can freeze your credit for no charge, why use it? That makes sense to me. But when I Googled what are the three major credit unions, when you put that in there, when you Google what are the three major credit unions, the first two things that come up on the page in the Google search are paid links to paid services, one of which is LifeLock. The
Yeah.
other is Experian's or one of those
Enhanced
their enhanced plan that says
protection. Right.
monthly fee.
Right.
And then I realized LifeLock isn't one of the major three credit reporting unions, first of all. And number two, LifeLock is part of Norton, the
Yep.
antivirus software, uh, which is actually spyware. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
Norton Utilities is not. I I don't get me started on Norton Utilities and what that does to your computer. But
well, here's what I would say to people that are going to go online and try and do this, because there's really limited downside. So I'm recommending people do it at all ages, particularly retirees, because they don't
you
need
mean freeze
to
their credit,
freeze their credit.
not use LifeLock?
Right, right. I'm recommending that they go online and do it. But here, a good resource. Clark Howard. Remember this guy? He's still
Yep.
around, I think. He used to he was the first like finance guru radio show guy. He's got a website directly says step by step credit freeze and thaw guide. So I'll put the link for those watching on YouTube. Go to him, and he's got the links directly to each of the credit union, the companies. So you're not typing, because this is what happens. Like when people sign up for, I'm going to sign up for Medicare. Go to Medicare.com. No, that you go to Medicare.gov, SocialSecurity.com. No, you go to SocialSecuritySSA.gov. Here you could fall for the same thing, TransUnion or Experian. The next thing
Yeah.
you know, you're buying a timeshare in Aruba. So make sure you're going through the three credit companies and
Right.
call them instead of.
And the step-by-step guide is easy to find even for our listeners who aren't watching on video. It's just go to clark.com and then
Mhm.
find the link to the credit, or you can go to clark.com/credit and
Right.
then look for credit freeze, and you'll find that guide. So it's that easy. It's
Yeah.
just clark.com, and that's not a paid site. That's Clark Howard. Like you said, I think
He
you've
gets
even
ads
referenced
probably.
his
I don't
site
know. Right.
before. It's a
Yeah.
good resource.
Yeah. And so that gives the step by step on how to freeze. But I'm just telling people go to freeze. Now, just because you do it doesn't mean you're not going to get fraud. You're still going to get the emails that are
Right.
hacking your computer and telling you, Microsoft subscriptions
You
over.
could still get fraud. You could still
Right.
be subject to fraud if you click a link in a
Right.
bad
Right.
text or
But
email.
this prevents those people from getting your data online and pretending they're you and opening up an account somewhere. And while we're talking about prevention, we did a show regarding tax return fraud. Remember that? And I said, get an IRS PIN so that when you file your tax return, you can put a separate PIN on there so no one else can do a tax return in your name and get a refund that you're probably not entitled to. And then when you go to file, they're like, what? Watch that show. I'll put it up here for YouTube viewers. That's the IRS fraud system that allows you to put a PIN on your personal identification number on your tax return. So bottom line, Tony, a lot of upside here. A little bit of inconvenience if you're getting credit, or you're going to need to get something to unfreeze, freeze. You have to remember. Most likely, it's remember your password to the website to unfreeze it. But I mean, there's ways that if you forget it, you can do challenge questions and that kind of stuff. Just another thing to worry about. But by doing it, then you don't have to worry about someone stealing your credit, which is a lot more of a hassle than remembering a password to freeze it.
Yeah.
That's simple, effective, particularly for retirees, because how often are they going to need a credit check? How often?
Yep.
And while we're on the topic, get your credit report. You're allowed to get it for free, and just look at it. Make sure there's nothing on there that you don't know about,
Right.
and figure it out and correct it. So, yeah, simple. I think everyone should do it, Tony.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I would have argued, why do you have to? And it seems like a hassle to go in and unfreeze it if you needed it. But especially if you're in retirement, what are you going to need it for? Right. I mean,
You know who else should be doing it? My kids, and I'm going to do it for them. You could freeze your kids' credit history, or credit, freeze your kids' credit. So, my kids are still teenagers, but I think once you're over 13, you can actually go online and freeze your own. And then when they go to get a student loan or whatever, then we can unfreeze it. But I don't need anyone opening an account in my kids' names. Who knows what they're doing on the computer?
I
right
mean,
now,
you can get a credit card when you're pretty young now, can't
Right.
you? I mean,
Right.
I don't know if there's
So-
an age limit to getting a credit card, but it seems like they target kids pretty young for that.
Right. They
which they
target
shouldn't.
people that aren't really paying attention. That's kids. That's
Mhm.
retirees that aren't thinking like I'm not.
First year college students are the prime target.
Exactly. So
Oh, you're
freeze
going to
the
be a
credit.
freshman in college? Hello.
Right. Think of that, parents. What are watching? Free or your grandkids freeze their
Yeah.
credit so that they won't get scammed in college to open
Yeah.
up some credit card without.
Yeah.
They'll
Or
be
they
like, "Oh,
won't
it's
open
frozen."
a ton of credit cards
They won't.
that you
they'll be
don't
like,
know
"Why isn't my
about and
card-"
run up a
Right.
debt
Right. See?
and then come to you for the money to pay them off.
There you go. And odds are your grandson or your son is not going to call you from the jail in Canada asking for bail money to be wired via Bitcoin, so don't fall for that.
Or he needs you to mail him gift cards to get
Right,
home.
gift cards, scratch them off, take a picture and send it. No. All right. We could go all day on this. We've done shows on this, but Tony, I wanted just to say, everyone get out there today and go freeze your credit score. Why not? Call
Sounds
up free,
good, Dan.
go online and make it happen. Why not? Yeah, you can't answer that. Why not, Tony? There is no answer.
No, there is no answer. Well, Dan, great show today. Before we go, let our listeners know if they want to get a financial plan in place or a retirement plan or have questions about this or other topics, how can they get a hold of you?
Easiest way, dolphinfinancialgroup.com, or call me 888-508-5935. Hit the button that you heard us on the radio, and you can maybe catch Tony and I on a good day, and we'll talk to you. All right. Thanks for a good show, and have a great week, everyone.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Riddle nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.